Welcome to a brand new episode of Gayside Stories, where the gay shit goes. I am your host, Trilificent. Thank you so much for joining me for another week. As always, guys, remember you can listen to this show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, whatever your favorite podcast app is, or you can go to GaysideStories.com/shows, and all of these shows will be listed there as well. Remember to use the hashtag GaysidePod when you live tweet about the show, or if you have anything you want to say as you're listening, and use the hashtag Pods by QPOC. That way it helps people find podcasts like this that are hosted by queer people of color. Also, send in any letters or solicitation for advice, show topic ideas, anything like that to GaysideStories@gmail.com. And last but not least, if you are interested in being a guest on the show, let me know. For example, I am looking for a guest or guests, a couple, whatever the case may be, that has experience with open relationships, or maybe you're in an open relationship currently. I would love to have you on the show to have a discussion about that. So if you're interested in being on the show for that topic or another topic, or if you just want to say, hey, I just want to throw my name out there, and if you come up with something great, then hit me up. You can DM me on Twitter, or you can again email me at GaysideStories@gmail.com. This episode, I'm going to say, is one of my favorite. It was very entertaining to record. We had a lot of fun. I love collaborating with this particular guy. So I'm going to go ahead and let the episode air and you guys enjoy. All right. So I have a return guest, one of my personal favorites, my personal favorite person and podcast host. I have the myth, the man, the legend, Kevin Dwayne of the Outline Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again.
No problem. I'm so excited to be back again. Thank you for having me.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. I'm like, I just was like, man, your show has only gotten better. And these topics, I'm like, I want to get on these good ass topics you're talking about. Well, shit. So I'm glad to be back.
I appreciate that. I feel like I'm on like the 5th iteration of the show. I've made so many changes in the past year and some change since you've been on, because that's what
podcasting does,
right?
When was I on?
You were on episode, I want to say it was 21, when we had that conversation about rejection. And
wow.
And this is going to be episode 85. Jesus Christ.
Oh, shit. Well damn.
Wow, I didn't realize that till just now.
Wow. Yeah, podcasting does that though. Like, here's the thing. I don't even listen to my older shows. I'm afraid to. Like, because my mind is always evolving and I'm always changing, and I know it's a good sign to see how far you've come, but I don't want to cuss my former self out. Because I used to do that on YouTube. I'll watch old videos of me in my 20s and be like, shut the fuck up, Kevin. Shut your dumb ass up. Like, and I just don't want to do that with the podcast.
That's real.
And so when people find the show and they're like, oh, I'm binge listening from the beginning, I'm like, ooh, good luck. Like, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but just know it does change.
Same. You know what? I liken that to whenever I'm checking the numbers, which I, scale back on a lot, and I see like episode 1 getting a spin, and I'm like, who in the hell is listening to episode 1? And why? Why would you do that to yourself?
I mean, the whole thing. No, people want the whole thing.
They want that.
I do the same thing though. When I find podcasts that I love, I go from the beginning, because it becomes I get it. It becomes a connection. And I talked about this on my show a few weeks ago. I feel like because we're in a generation where we don't like to talk on the phone as much anymore, we're all text. I think podcasts have become kind of that intimacy we get from hearing people's voices.
Yeah.
And I think when you listen long enough, these people become your friends in your head. Like, it's legit, like, I'm connecting with these people. And if you like what they have to say, you're like, okay, like, this is legit. Like, I'm gonna go all the way back and start over and just hear the whole journey. And being a podcaster, you hear the changes. You're like, oh, okay, they got a better producer on this one. Oh, they got better content. Oh, somebody told them that was annoying. And so it's interesting.
Well, with this show, I mean, I'm my own worst critic. Like, I'm very harsh on myself. I'm very particular about the show and how things need to be. So I can see it. I definitely will never go back and listen to old episodes because yuck. But I can see it in just the evolution of, like, my show notes, how they've changed. That's pretty much how I gauge my progress, I guess.
Yeah. Your show notes are lit. I like them a lot.
Yeah.
They're always detailed. That's actually, they made me step my game up. Your show notes and Here For It podcast show notes. I was like, listen, I didn't know I was supposed to be writing dissertations in here. And so I was like, let me step my game up. Get my links in here. Get my, like, put everything in there.
It's the only way that I can keep it straight. Because I'm a planner. And so I have to.
You're a Virgo?
No, I'm a Gemini.
No? Gemini. Okay. I'm still crazy. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Is that what we doing? Okay. Oh, I see. So you gonna come on my show and talk shit about me. All right. Okay. The outline indeed. No.
What I meant by that, sorry, it's the cocktail. What I meant by that is very much in your head. Like, I always think, I always laugh at Geminis because they're very much the thinkers. You guys, you could be sitting at lunch with a Gemini, like, eating burgers. They're like, but what really is a burger? And you were like, wait, what's happening? I don't it's always like a kind of, everything's very thought provoking. So I can understand why you'd be very thoughtful when it comes to your podcast.
I can't disagree. Now, I'm not going to, but usually mine is not, it's not a Shakespearean type thing. It's not a Socrates, what is life? I would probably just be like, is this elk or nah? But anyway, we have rambled enough. So let's get into the first segment and we'll probably ramble there, but at least we'll ramble with the purpose.
Yes, ramble with a purpose.
So
next podcast soon.
So the queer query.
Question.
Couple of questions. Have some fun before we get into the main topic, which I think the topic will be fun too. But anyway, first question. What has been one of your favorite moments of 2018?
Okay, 2018 was actually a really dope ass year. Like, there's been so many highlights. So yeah, this question was difficult, but one that stands out to me was my birthday this year. Okay. I just had a kickback at my house, and like, my apartment's only about 600 square feet, and I'm being very generous with that number. And like 30 people came, and there was no drama. Everyone interacted with each other. When you mix people together, you don't know what you're gonna get. And it was just so, all night you just saw people playing musical chairs with each other and talking to everyone, and everyone was connecting and making new bonds. And it was an amazing feeling knowing that I was at the center of it. Like, wow, I'm bringing people together. We all had a good time. There was no police calling. There were no noise ordinances. Like, it was a perfect evening. And I remember just being so energized knowing that I have a great group of friends and acquaintances in Atlanta, and that, I don't know, I felt very much covered. And so that definitely was a highlight of this year.
All right. Well, shout out to niggas congregating with no problems.
And there wasn't a piece of fried chicken in sight. You hear me?
Oh, okay. Y'all did not even nig it up all the way.
Didn't even dig it up. Well, because I'm vegan, so right
True.
now it's a little questionable. At that time, I was fully vegan. It's been sketchy lately, and I gotta be honest. But during that time, I was full vegan, and so I was like, "Well, my invite said it was like BYOAP, bring your own animal products," and so I had a bunch of vegan food. But people fucked it up. They was like, "Oh, this is good." They fucked that shit up. There was none left. Okay, I had the vegan cupcakes. It was just vegan everything, and people fucked it up. So I was like, "Okay, I guess we did okay." So yeah,
That's dope. That's dope. Shout out to you.
I love you say shout out.
2018's been trash for me, so I struggled a little bit to pick out a good moment, but I'm going to say one of my favorite moments of this year actually was just this past weekend. I went to Cleveland, and my friend Bree from Mama Meets World podcast, we went to Cleveland to attend my friend Candace, her wedding / vow renewal.
Yeah, you look very dapper, by the way. I was like, come through, suit.
Thank you. So
yeah, serve them up.
Candace is my co-host on Ratchet Ramblings, and a few months ago when she mentioned it, I was like, oh, I'm there. I'm in the spot. So we went to Cleveland and we had a good time, and it was beautiful. Black love, which, I don't really know her, but she's good for other people. She's good for other people. Yeah. And I
can still partake.
Yeah, I could partake. And listen, it was like a wedding ceremony brunch. Like they had the ceremony and then they had the food on the other side of the room. Listen, that ham was slapping. All right, that ham. All right, that glaze.
The ham stood out.
The ham. All right. I was like, well, let me unbutton this jacket because I need another slice of ham.
Ain't nothing like a good little brunch situation. Yeah, oh man,
it was
like,
good.
Food really brings people together. It does.
It does. Apparently weddings and food and music.
Well, weddings, like you don't really have to even know the people because, like, as a photographer, I do weddings and I can still feel the joy of the families. I can still it's always a moment when, especially with Black people, it's just so lovely. It's always like soul food over and over and over again. You're just like, oh, there's Big Mama. Okay, there's, it's something about seeing people in a happy environment, a loving environment that really kind of connects people. So I'm convinced I can go to a stranger's wedding and still be okay.
Absolutely. But this was special because, like I said, it was close friends, and just having this history of being friends and then this history of acting a fool on the podcast every week and, interacting with her mom. So meeting her mom, and then she was trying to tell somebody about the podcast, and I was like, no, don't do that. That's a horrible podcast. Don't recommend that to your family.
They're future listeners.
Ratchet Ramblings is terrible. Anyway.
I mean, it's wonderful, though. You'd be surprised because when people tell me they listen to my show, I'd be like, okay, well, you're going to come up on Sexasodes and Holistic Tales. Feel free to skip those. They're like, no, I'm listening to everything. I'm like, okay, listen to everything.
For this show, I've pretty much given up. I'm like, you're going to hear what you're going to hear. We might be talking about sucking dick. We might be talking about eating ass. We might be talking about marching in the streets. I don't know. We might be talking about all three at the same time.
It's a combo. I tell people that's literally the human experience. We're not one way. Like, you can literally talk about sucking dick and still be conscious and still be spiritual or whatever. Your journey can be in different places. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm only going to do this. And
correct.
I believe in that. Give them the whole gamut.
I agree. And I think that's what really anchors people to podcasts. Like, when they like it because that's what they're getting. They're getting that authenticity and I won't say complete, but a good representation of the human experience. It's not just force feeding that one thing. It's some of everything. So we do our little thing. We talk, we do our little thing. So next question. What is your favorite Mariah Carey song?
Okay. My favorite Mariah Carey song is Breakdown.
Good choice.
It was just I think it was Mariah Carey just at the turn of her change, like just before it got really ratchet. It was still melodic and still like, it was just like, okay, I'm gonna raise this hemline up higher so you can get more leg. But I'm still singing about some real shit. And not to say she lost that completely, because she's still, Emancipation came years later. But But Breakdown was just, it was something about that damn song, the lyrics, once you had to look them up because you couldn't understand a word she was saying, listen with your naked ear. But once you read them, you're like, oh, she's talking about some real shit. Like, it's literally like a breakup and like pretending like it doesn't affect you, but inside you're really upset about it. And I don't know, it's something very vulnerable about that song. And if it ever comes on, I don't turn it off. And that's how I know it's a favorite.
Fair. Good choice. I have two. I think it just depends. So
she has a long discography.
Yeah, absolutely. But the one song that always gets me, or one of the songs, because there are a lot, but I narrowed it down to the two, is My All. I feel like My All was a song that when I heard it, I was just in love. And I don't even like love, but that song just, I don't know what it is. And the video, I have a terrible memory, but I remember a glimpse of the video. I see it in my head right now. She's like on a sail, like a boat, kind of.
It
was like water.
The black and white.
Yeah. And that song just always does something to me. Like the vocal performance that she gave in that song, like everything just works for me. And the other song is Vision of Love. And the reason that that's one of my favorite Mariah Carey songs is because it was my introduction to her. And it's also one of the good memories that I have from my mom. Because my mom, like, loved that song. Like, she wore it out. Vision of Love and Emotions. She wore them songs out. And I was like, girl.
It's funny, like early Mariah, I didn't really get with.
Oh no, I was there.
It took me a while. Because as a kid, I had this thing where I didn't like slow songs like a lot. So it's like, so Mariah Carey fit in that box of like, okay, who's this white girl? And once again, I was a kid. Who's this white girl singing these slow songs? She just never connected with me. And I would occasionally like Emotions or Anytime You Need a Friend or some shit. Like I would like the upbeat shit.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until Fantasy, or no, actually Dream Lover caught my attention. One time I was watching Soul Train and I used to play like one video in between. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I remember when Fantasy came out and I was like, okay, I do like her.
Yeah.
Like it was like Fantasy and Always Be My Baby. I was sold. When Always Be My Baby came out, I was fucking sold. And then they had a remix with Escape and the Brat. I was like, okay.
That was back when remixes meant something. The remixes stuck like grits, just like the regular song. But I think Vision of Love stuck with me because it was like one of the cleanup songs, I guess. Like, listen, I knew when I heard Vision of Love or Emotions or BB and CeCe Winans or Vanita Baker, I was like, golly, let me get this bleach. But I heard them so much that I grew to love them. Toni Braxton's first album. Like, I still had stuff around in my age range that I like, TLC and, New Jack Swing acts, but I had an appreciation for big voices, and it didn't matter the tempo of the song. Like, if I like the song, I like the song. And so, but I cling to that song, like I said, because anybody who's listened to this show long enough knows that I have a strained relationship with my mom at best. So it's one of the better memories that I have. And it's so interesting how memories live in songs.
Listen,
it's songs that you don't have anything to do with. You had no hand in its creation, but it's the living embodiment of so many memories. It's crazy.
Oh, that's what I do. It's a part of my like mental health, like my self-care. Like anytime I'm feeling down, I can play 90s music and be okay.
Absolutely.
It just puts you back in certain periods of time, and it's just music has that ability.
Absolutely. So let's switch gears a little bit, and I'm actually going to let you ask a question. So what you got for me?
Oh, okay. So you're familiar with Sex and the City, right? You have to be.
I know
Are
of
you
it,
not?
but I've never watched it. No, I've watched one episode that was funny.
Okay. Are you familiar with the characters?
Yes.
Good enough. You know they're for white women. Cool.
Correct.
All I want now, I want you to recast it, but I want to make it black. So recast Sex and the City with black actresses.
Okay. What are we doing? Young? Are we doing?
It's whatever you want. What will be the perfect Sex and the City for you? Yep, it could be old, young, whatever. But it's now a black show, and it will be just as big.
Okay. Who do I want on my Sex and the City? Definitely Gina Torres.
Ooh.
She counts. Afro Latina, that counts.
Yeah, I'll take it.
We'll
say people of color. Bam, you're set.
There you go. POC.
Yes.
So Gina Torres, Tracy Ellis Ross.
Ooh.
I think I'm gonna go Nia Long.
Ooh. Yeah. I think she'd be a good Carrie.
Yeah, Nia Long. Well, I feel like Tracy Ellis Ross would be Carrie. I feel like Nia Long would be, because I feel like Nia Long shines when she's more of like a, I don't want to say abrasive, but more of a stronger character. Like,
so she could be like a Miranda,
yes,
like the lawyer.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, but only thing about that, with Tracy Ellis Ross being the lead, you're pretty much creating girlfriends all over again, and that's fine.
But I might switch it up. I might switch it up and do like how Golden Girls did, where they switched up Rue McClanahan. I can't say her name, and Betty White. So maybe Tracy Ellis Ross would be like the Samantha.
Oh,
like I would love to see her do something
in a
different.
sexual role. Yeah.
And she could listen that ass. Anyway, you know what? I feel like Kerry Washington would be a good. Which one with the short hair?
Miranda?
No. Yes.
Charlotte?
Sorry, I was thinking
Miranda,
about Miranda. Sorry, Charlotte is the brunette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Kerry Washington, I think she would be a good Miranda.
That's good.
Yeah. Or I might switch it up because her Miranda might be a little bit too close to Olivia Pope. So I might actually make her Charlotte.
But you know her strengths, though. So I mean,
yeah, that's the thing. Like I know their strengths, at least from what I've observed. But you try not to recreate something. But yeah, I think those four, and then maybe play around with the roles and say who does what. But I think that's a strong.
I like that.
What about you?
I'm cracking up because our shit is so fucking similar right now. Okay, so I actually have Kerry Washington as Charlotte.
Okay.
Just because I would want her in that conservative, like, this is the way things have to be. I want Gabrielle Union as Carrie.
Okay.
And I want, hold on, I have a little list here. I've literally been going through black actresses the whole time. And then I want Regina Hall as Miranda.
Ooh, good choice.
And I want Tika Sumpter as Samantha.
Ooh, great choice.
Yeah,
I love Tika Sumpter.
Yeah, she has and she kind of can do all the roles. She's one of those actresses where it's like, because on Have and Have Not, she was like prostituting, wasn't she? Not well, she was sleeping around. I won't say
she was using what she got to get what she need,
what she want,
and what she want. Yeah, we stand. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a bonus question, and it's personal, but it will launch us into our topic.
Okay.
So, what is one of the best sexual compliments you've ever received?
One of the best sexual compliments I've ever received. Damn. Oh my God. Okay. So there's two. There's two. Well, one is I have an ex, and I don't know if he still feels this way, but in a weird way, he ended up going like back to someone after me. Mm-hmm. And then he hit me up out of nowhere and was like, "No one fucks me like you do." Ooh. Like, that's some of the best sex I've ever had. And I was just like, well, thank you. And so come
on, platinum.
But it was dope though. But we used to wear hotel rooms out though, so it was just like, okay, cool. Like, that was dope. And then like I get a lot of this is fuck it, I don't care. I get a lot of compliments on my head. Like I get a lot of compliments.
Come on, mouth game. Yes.
I'm kind of cocky when it comes to it. I'm like,
oh, I bet you are cocky with the cock.
Well, it's one of those things where niggas, when you be like, well, you're not in the mood to like do the whole thing. You like, I'll give you head. And he's like, I don't want no fucking head. I'm like, you sure? And then like you get to head, and the next they're like, oh, this is actually not what I thought it would be. So yeah, those are like, those are common compliments I get.
Come on, common.
I mean, I'm grown. I can own it now.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I asked. I was like, I know you're not gonna shy away from it. But common compliments.
You know what your strengths are. I can take a good photo.
Walk in your motherfucking truth, or in your case, suck in your truth.
Suck in your truth.
All right. Hotel room in your truth.
What about you, fool?
Oh. Ooh. I don't like to be touched. No. I don't know if it's weird, but one of the things that I've heard a lot, niggas be like, your dick tastes good. And I'd be like,
yes.
Well, thank you. I put some gravy on it before you came over.
It's marinated, brine it.
No, no. I don't know if I like that.
No brining. Oh, okay.
Brining might be a bit extreme. Sorry, because I hear brining and it's November, so I think about how my stepdad used to like shoot up turkeys. So I don't know where my head just went. I don't know how we went from dick to turkey. I mean, I guess it's because it's all raw.
Either way, no stuffing.
No.
Oh man,
you sure? But yeah, I've heard that a lot, and I'd be like, all right. I mean, you don't have to stop to tell me that. You can tell me after.
You just take it. And was something that also bonus. I have a couple on tape giving me compliments, and that's always nice to revisit every now and then, just to be like, oh, okay. So
come on, you know what? I'm here for fanning your own ego. If you're good at it, and someone gives you compliments, why not? Why not?
Sometimes you feel like you lost it. Sometimes you feel you don't, if you're not feeling your best about it. We all have our moments of just feeling kind of like, are you gassing me up? And sometimes you just got to remind yourself, like, nah, nigga, you put in work. You ain't a boring lay.
Right. You know what that reminds me of?
I think that would hurt my feelings. If I was boring in bed, that would probably hurt my feelings. Like it would.
I'm trying to decide. Would that hurt my fit? Probably not, because I'd be like, please get out of my house. It's done. It's over.
Like I put too much effort in. Like it's just like all the way before you even get to me. There's the foreplay and the talking and
absolutely. You gotta rev the engine. You gotta rev the engine.
Yeah, like I feel like I put too much into it. I'm a very sensual person, so if someone said I was boring, I'd be like, what? Yeah,
if that in that case, then you definitely have to like retaliate. Be like, that's why your mama a hoe or something.
Oh my God.
Call my sex boy. No. Okay. So that wraps up the queer query, and since we're talking about sex, we're gonna slide on in, no pun intended, to the main topic. And we're going to be talking about sex with friends. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I see this come up every now and then on Twitter. People get very judgmental about having sex with friends and fucking your way through friend groups, which is different, but still kind of in the wheelhouse. And when you hit me up and was like, hey, I want to be on the show again, and I was kind of cycling through, I was like, this would be a good topic. I feel like the discourse with you would be where I wanted it to be. So let's dive into this topic a little bit again, no pun intended. So first things first, what are your overall thoughts about friends having sex? Like, what are the pros and what are the cons? How do you feel about it?
Well, I don't know if I've had a successful experience with that per se. I'm not against it at all, but I do know that you do run the risk of things changing. The pro is you get to fuck someone who actually cares about you. And that's important. I mean, if they're your friend, then they care about you. You know what I mean? Versus it being like a hookup. Damn,
we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
go ahead. Sorry, let me not interrupt you. We'll get there.
My definition of friend, they care about you. But I do think that you can risk fucking up the friendship if the communication isn't clear and thorough between parties. So
Agreed.
The pro for me was you'd be doing with someone that, you know, there's mutual interest with and you guys care for one another. The con is if you guys aren't communicating, you could ruin the friendship, period.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with it because it's, in my mind, friends, yes, but if you strip everything down, it's still consenting adults having sex. But I will say the caveat on that is it has to be the right friend. Like, you can't just decide, okay, my friend been in the gym and he fine, so I'm gonna try to fuck. Like, you have to have the right relationship.
Is that where I went wrong? Fuck.
Probably. You have to have the right relationship.
You see a good pectoral muscle and a nice high ass, you be like reconsidering things. You be like, you know what?
Yeah, you be like reconsider, but then you fuck around and realize, oh shit, we didn't have that kind of relationship, and now I done fucked this shit up. I just feel like you can't cross that line with any and every friend. And I think that's where a lot of the online judgment comes. It's like, oh, if you subscribe to the idea of having sex with friends, I mean, you be having sex with all your friends. And it's like, no. That's not how that works.
That's not true at all.
But I also think some of that comes from people either not realizing they do it or not wanting to admit that they do it, where they have this thing where all their friends are attractive. And so they start projecting like, well, all of my friends are attractive, so if I was a different kind of friend, I would fuck all my friends. Ergo, if you fuck friends, you must be fucking all your friends. And it's like,
and we got to put a pin in that. I always had an issue with the people who only try to befriend people who they are attracted to or who they find attractive. I've always found that problematic because you do have people who be like, all my friends fine, all my friends look a certain way. And you be like, why was that necessary? Like, I don't know. That's just suspect. That's suspect as fuck to me.
It's weird.
Like, I don't know. It's always bothered me. And I've seen so many friend circles where everyone looks a certain way. And I'm like, so you guys legit chose each other based on how you all looked? Like, that's interesting. Or I've noticed a lot of tall niggas befriend each other. I stay seeing groups of tall niggas. And I'm like, so y'all just got a basketball team going over here? What's going on? Like, it's interesting.
Maybe they commiserate about, you know, finding pants in the right length. I don't know.
Oh.
Yes, shout out to the tall listeners, because I'm average height and I know your ass is not tall, so
I cannot.
But that's okay.
But yeah,
that's okay.
Interesting.
Let's see. Pros and cons. Familiarity is a big one, I think. Just having someone that you're comfortable with. Ease of access. Hopefully, you know, a friend that you might be used to seeing on a regular basis. So it's like, okay, instead of seeing you at happy hour all the time, let's have slappy hour instead.
Slappy hour. Okay.
And like you said, someone that you trust. Because hopefully it's a friend and it's a solid friendship and it's not one of those weird, guiding light as the world turns as friendships. Cons. Yeah. Ooh. So it's definitely, there's a lot of potential to get messy if feelings start to get involved, which we'll talk about a little bit more. I think another thing that is a con and probably a deterrent for a lot of people is worrying about judgment from outside parties if they learn about it. Like, if you guys are not discreet about it. And I've always wondered about that. It's like, especially if it's like a friend group and two friends in the group start having sex with each other. Because you always see this in like movies and on TV shows, and they try to hide it because they're worried about what everybody else is going to say. But I feel like
that's so 20-something to me. Like, I don't know. Anything over 30, I'm like, y'all need to mind y'all motherfucking business.
True. But, there's potential for everything because
True.
You can be 30 and still have the mindset of a 20-something. We see that all
Ain't
the time.
That a word?
Mm.
Yeah. But then also, I think it's sometimes you see those stories though of people who end up together. They were friends and they were like, wow, like you were here this whole time and I just never considered it until now.
Yeah.
So you just never know. And I don't think it should be off the limits, but you also have to make sure you guys are on the same page.
Correct. And the last con I had was that there's some potential to see some negatives in your friend because they might be a lot different in sexual situations than they are as a friend. Just like they could be a lot different as a boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other than they are as a friend. So there's potential for some conflict there.
That's real. Oh my God, that's so real. You be like, this is why you can't keep a motherfucking nigga. I know this
right. Right.
This is why.
You be like, oh, so you just a trash ass bitch. Oh, okay. So you be at brunch perpetrating. Got it. No. So you mentioned it in your first answer. You say you haven't had any successful ones. So tell me a little bit more about the experience that you had. And what did you learn from it?
Well, here's the thing. My experiences have been oftentimes where I fucked people that I shouldn't have fucked, and they became friends.
Okay.
Like long-term friends. Like actually, one of my best friends, Charles, that was someone that we met when we were 18 in the club. Like we hooked up for like maybe like a month or something, and then we just stopped kicking it like that. And then like a year later, we started kicking it as friends, and we've been friends ever since. Like he's like a brother to me now. Mm-hmm. But it started off as us kind of just being like, you know, like trying to fuck. And and I have another friend like that too, where we actually dated. We dated, but we're friends now. Like legit friends. I don't want him, he doesn't want me. Like we're friends. And so I've had that kind of experience where after the fact you're like, okay, we probably shouldn't even went the romantic route, but such as, you know, being gay and we always want to test out the skins. Oh, yeah.
First like, things first.
Okay. But then I had this one scenario with this older guy. We ended up being, I mean, he was older than me, so that was already kind of like suspect, I guess. But I liked him, and we, it was like supposed to be like this kind of, you know, like, how do I explain it? He let me know from jump, like, we're not gonna be in a relationship. But, you know, I do want to hang with you and blah, blah, and I would like to fuck you too. You know, I was like, okay. Some of the best sex I had ever had, you know, and we ended up being like friends with benefits for, I want to say 4 or 5 years. And a relationship never came of it, but I was kind of hurting inside because I wanted more from him, but I knew that he didn't see me that way. But it was like but it was at the same time, this nigga came to my graduation from college. Like he was there for me, like as a friend would be. Like he supported my endeavors and shit like that. And in fact, it's funny, we actually fucked like a year or two ago when he came to Atlanta. Like it was like interesting. It had been years since I had
consistency.
Moved here. And no, the thing is, I hadn't seen him in like 4 years. And he flew into town. I was like, well, you know, you want to link? And we had some bomb ass sex, and that was that, you know? But I do remember being I remember being bittersweet because I'd had feelings where I felt like I wasn't enough for him. And you do kind of get in your mind of like, oh, so it's good enough for you to fuck me, but I can't be a man. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I did have my own kind of resentment with him until I started, in a weird way, I became him. And no, really, like in my 30s, I legit became him because I started looking at younger guys who wanted to get at me. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not trying to be in a relationship with you, but I will fuck you, you know, and it became the same thing. But I started getting where he was coming from when it came to relationships and not wanting to give certain parts of you. And It started making sense in my older age. But I do remember like for instance, I would never say no to him. If he hit me up, I would be there. In fact, that was a rule. I couldn't say no to him. But he was just so fucking like gorgeous that it was just like it was like he was Christian Grey before 50 Shades of Grey. Like he'd be the nigga like I'd wake up in the morning at like 8 a.m. and I'd be on my way to work and he would send me a text like, I'm fucking you tonight. So be at my house at 10 o'clock wearing this, and that. And I'd be like, oh shit. So the whole day I'm just thinking about this shit. You know
pins and needles.
But it was amazing though. And then like there'd be times like I think one time it was like I was busy and he was like, I want to see you tonight. And I'm like, well, I gotta do this. He's like, don't tell me no. Just let me know when you can get here, but it needs to be tonight. And that shit would turn me on. Mm-hmm. I was like, all right, it'll be at 11:53. But it was he had such a control and command over me, and it was just he was a great lover, and it wasn't just fucking though. Like he would make me breakfast, and we talk like it would be like hours, you know, like we be chilling like on a Sunday. I go there on a Saturday. We eat dinner. We fuck. We wake up. We fuck again. We eat breakfast. We fuck again. Like it was just like a whole ordeal. We talk. I helped him with some business stuff. Like it was a whole friendship there and a connection. In a weird way, he was kind of a mentor too, because he was like 8 or 9 years older than me. Mm-hmm. So it was an interesting thing, and I to this day I don't resent it. But I do remember feeling like, why won't you just make me yours though? Right. Or why can't we be together? And so that used to frustrate me, but I used to hide behind it because I didn't want to lose him. Right. Completely.
Right.
So yeah.
Look at you. Okay. I can't wait for these memoirs to come out. Yes. Holistic tales indeed.
Listen, for sure. Like that was, and it was weird because that's what frustrates me now though about I don't like to be regional about it, but having a friend with benefit for that long, it frustrates me about hookup culture now because everybody just on some hit it and quit it shit. Everybody just wants to fuck once, maybe twice. If you get a third, you might get lucky before you move on to the next person. Whereas I was literally fucking someone for like 4 or 5 years. And it was just like, what happened to that?
Right. Like what happened again? What happened to the consistency? Like we don't have to waste time sorting through profiles and niggas and messages we don't want. Like we already know what's up. I agree with you there. Definitely.
He was the best. He was the best though when I was in between relationships. So he was great because I could date a whole ass nigga and he will fall back. Like, okay. But as soon as me and that nigga broke up, he would tear me up and make me forget all about him. Like, all right, okay, you good? Like, I can literally like be broken hearted. He'd be like, okay, come over. And then just restore me. It was an interesting, and I appreciated that. And it was a nice season. I believe he's married to a woman now, so there's that. Oh, well, but whatever. Okay.
Well,
listen, you know, there's things.
Life be lifing, and niggas will need.
That was it too, though. I used to feel like because he wasn't DL at all. He was a proud bisexual man, and so I used to feel. I think I felt like, okay, so you'll only commit to a woman. Ooh. And I think that used to kind of break me a little bit.
Ooh, that's a whole other conversation.
Okay, anyhow, let's move on. I done gave you too much.
Ooh, no, that was just enough. Let's see. I definitely have had some experiences having sex or hooking up with friends. And I want to say I learned a lot about myself sexually, I guess, because that trust was there, so I was a little bit more willing to do things that I may not do with some dude that I met on whatever app or whatever website. Definitely taught me about friendship, and the reason why I brought up in the previous question about being different in terms of sexual situations and in terms of friendship, because I was that person and I didn't realize it until I had hooked up with one of my friends, and I was like, something happened, not to go into too many details, and I had to sit with that and it was like, I was like, okay, well, this is supposed to be my friend, but I was kind of janky towards him. And I was like, I would never be that way towards my friend, but the sex element made it different. Like I was dismissive in a way that I normally would not be. I guess maybe because I was so used to that, just kind of how it is. You hook up with somebody and then they disappear. And then they come back in 6 months with a brand new account on Jack, acting like y'all ain't never talked before.
Right, or where you been? That's my favorite. Nigga, here. I ain't moved.
I ain't going nowhere. Number's still the same. So yeah, it definitely taught me that I have the capacity to treat sexual partners poorly. Not badly. Like, I'm not in here, hitting nobody over the head with a vase or nothing, but I definitely could be more compassionate. So that was kind of a tough lesson for me to learn. Like, for some reason, I like snatching my own wig, but
yeah. I mean, self-awareness is important, though. It's very, very important. And like me, I had to learn not to waste people's time. Because after my last relationship, I was definitely kind of like, nigga, all you can get from me is sex. Like, I need you to leave briefly after. And it wasn't on it, but it was me just embracing my independence, but I still had sexual needs. So it was like, by me, I had to be curt with these people, but I was also honest. I never let anyone on. I never gave anyone this whole idea that we're going to be together. However, when someone is into you, it doesn't matter what you say. They still going to hear what they want to hear.
Right.
And so I had to get to a point where I had to like cut off people when I felt them going down that rabbit hole of wanting to connect to me, and I wasn't in that space.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that because we'll get into that in the next question. A couple other things that I learned. I definitely learned that I enjoy physical affection, or at least I used to. Now I say this, and I know it sounds like a joke, but I be so serious. I really don't want nobody in my house. Like,
that's whoopee.
the bare minimum, like, come in, listen. And I've I've turned into that weirdo that's like, okay, you coming over, we gonna do something. The lights is off. The path to the bedroom is a straight shot. We don't need to waste no time talking. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how fast you get here, I may not need to get undressed. It may just be you. Let's do what we do. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm hungry now. But thanks for coming through. And then escort them out. And then I'm going to go warm up something in the microwave and get my grub on. Like,
all right, take my ass to sleep if that's the time of day.
Hello, take my ass to sleep, take a nap, you know what I'm saying? Or, I might feel invigorated. I might get some work done. Like, well, let me pull up these show notes. I got some ideas now.
Yes.
But, the bare minimum, like, don't, unless we're friends. Now, like I said, I've had a friend and he would come over, we'd play video games, and it was like, okay, well, we're done playing the game. I want to, let's go play a different game. It's like, oh, okay, cool.
Sloppy hour.
Okay, I can see that's going to be a thing. But yeah, but I don't know. But I can think back to being with a friend and being affectionate and like cuddling and kissing and all that kind of stuff. And now I'm just like, no. I'm good. I'm good.
No, period.
I'm good. Like, cuddling is a hell no. Like, I get hot way too easily.
Same.
And we can kiss during the act, but outside of that, we don't need to hug. Like, when you're leaving, just go. Like, thanks. A wave is good.
Oh, I don't mind a hug. Especially if we're regularly fucking. If it's like a hookup, no. But if it's like we fucking for the second or third time, I mean, a greeting is nice. I mean, we're about to like enter each other, so I just feel like it's okay.
Ooh.
You're sharing bodies. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, but when it's all over, please get up and leave. You know,
Yes.
it's just like, okay, thanks. I'm gonna go throw these towels in the wash. Appreciate you. Let me go, wash the DNA off.
It got to a point where I actually ended up having a fuck comforter.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Because I have a white comforter. I like white comforters on my bed because they just look hotel and regal. But I have this other one that I was like, this is gonna be my fuck comforter. So I always drape that over the bed.
Oh, absolutely. But like, we going to do things? Let me get. Yeah, I have a fuck comforter too. Be like, I just washed these sheets, so I got to put this fuck comforter over here. I ain't washing sheets again. Shit.
Right, and niggas be disrespectful, like with the lube and everything. Lube be everywhere. You don't need that fucking much shit. Like,
lube be soaking through the goddamn mattress and shit.
Yeah, nah. So I had to come up with the fuck comforter.
Yeah. But yeah, and the last thing before we move on, I learned that sometimes a friend can be an excellent teacher in the bedroom. Shout out to the. I've definitely have had a friend teach me a lot, not on the scale that you kind of the mentor story that you were telling, but definitely had a friend that was like, okay, like, let me just sit back and be schooled amongst other things.
Yes.
So I was here for it. Now I don't really have that. Like, my friendships now are like, I mean, obviously it's like women. We damn sure ain't doing nothing. Shout out to y'all though. I support your hotels, just not with me. And I feel like, I mean, if we're gonna be honest, because that's what we do on Gayside Story, we tell the honest truth.
You should.
Friends that I have now that I would fuck are not accessible. It's one of those things where, like, if we were in the same city, absolutely, but we're not, so.
Right, then you just end up leaving it alone. Because let me tell you something, I have a whole lot of podcast crush, and I'm like, why are you there? Why are you there?
We didn't even, I wasn't even. You know what, we're going to move on. We're going to move on before I get myself in trouble.
Sometimes you got to shoot your shot, so you never know. Anywho, what's move on?
Okay. Noted. No. Okay. So, what are some best practices when it comes to having sex with a friend? Like, when you're in that situation, what are some things that you feel like people should do? What are some rules?
When I hear best practice, I think of like OSHA guidelines. But okay.
Well, I mean, depending on what kind of sex y'all having, you might need have OSHA on the horn.
Best practice. Okay, so number one is transparency. Like, that has to be there. That has to be the whole idea of like, okay, we're both interested in this, but like talking about like the risk factors and like, like, can we make a commitment to be cool no matter what, I think that's important. Other than that, I mean, outside of communication, I can't think of anything else. Like, I mean, just salvage the friendship. I would just never want to fuck up a friendship. Even if we had sex, whether it was good or bad, I wouldn't want to get to a point where I then resented that person, especially if we already built something.
Right.
So it's kind of like making that agreement, that Will and Jada agreement that, okay, we're going to work this shit out. We ain't dissolving this friendship.
Okay.
So I think that's number one. And I think that's the only thing I have, to be honest with you, because you're already friends. It's different when you're just trying to date someone or whatever. But the fact that you already have a rapport and you already have something going on, you're just adding another level of intimacy to it. And so you just have to decide how much of an effect you're going to allow that intimacy to take. Now, we're just talking about sex with friends. We're not talking about a relationship, though, right?
No, that's a whole different can of worms.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, I honestly think that the communication just needs to be open and honest, because you do run the risk of somebody catching feelings.
Absolutely. So I'm going to agree with that. First and foremost, communication is key, which honestly, that is pretty much in most facets of life. Communication would save people from so many headaches. Open, honest communication. I do think it's important to establish like some ground rules. however many or however few you think. But I feel like if you feel like you need some structure in order to preserve the friendship, then don't be afraid to talk to your friend and be like, okay, we're gonna do this, but you know, it could be okay, we're not gonna tell anybody, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. Like you said about maintaining the friendship, so I definitely think it's important to remember that you're friends first. So if things go left, the rest of it can be left behind. Like, no matter how good the dick is, or the ass, or mouth, or whatever, that friendship should be the most important thing. So the rest of that can be laid to the side.
That's real.
It should be able to be laid to the side. That's what I'm saying. It depends on the strength of that friendship, because I've seen situations where it's a strong friendship, but that dick was stronger, and then everything went to hell, and Humpty Dumpty wasn't able to be put back together again. So
then to protect thine walls. Hence they crumble.
They
lubed them up. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think respect is very important. And just to go back to what I was saying before, because sometimes I think we are not cognizant of how we treat people. Because, like I said, that was a wake-up call for me. I didn't realize that I treated friends differently than I treated hookups. Whereas now that's something that I'm cognizant of. So that's why it's like, okay, it's a dark... You know, I'm not even being friendly if it's a hookup, because that's not my intent. Whereas if it's something...
but what if you start changing your behavior with your friend and you start treating them like a hookup?
Exactly.
So now
that's what I'm saying. You have to be cognizant.
Look at their messages differently.
Exactly.
I'm triggered.
So that's what I say. You have to respect each other. But I think it goes beyond that. Like, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, people's time, resources. Like, be mindful of all that stuff, and don't because I also think you can fall into the trap of kind of taking things for granted because it's your friend. And it's like, okay, so we hooking up on a consistent basis, but I always got to buy the lube and the condoms. Or, you know what I'm saying, I always got to come to your house, and you sitting here acting like gas ain't $3 a motherfucking gallon. You know what I'm saying? Like, just think, or it's always on your...
assuming a lot. I think a lot of times when we know people, we start projecting what we think they'll feel. Oh, they won't trip if I do this. Oh, they don't care that much. But when you add levels of intimacy, that could trigger something else. Because I think we're all... Well, I won't say we're all. Let me speak for myself. Like, Ayan, say, beloved, speak for yourself. I'm different when I like someone. I'm different when I'm intimate with someone versus a friend. So I could be looking at you with heart eyes, and also I can also overanalyze things when I'm into you. So that message that you probably would have ignored previously because I'm just cool Kevin, I'm looking at as rejection now because now I'm fucking you. So it's interesting. You know, it's one of those things where it's just like... So that could be a thing too, where you think like, oh, he'll be all right. When it's like, oh, but you know, you haven't experienced them in this light though. So it's interesting.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see what else. I think it's very important to not forget to be friends. So
does that mean you have some days where you don't fuck?
Basically, it's like, okay, we're still friends. Like, we can still,
It's a no fuck day.
Not necessarily that it has to be a no fuck day, but don't make it so that your friendship turns into nothing but fucking. Like, you're supposed to be friends. You should still be able to hang out, go to happy hour, go to dinner, or go, I don't know, paintballing or whatever it is that you do, and not have sex consume your friendship and get to the point where it's like the only time you're communicating is when y'all panting and sweating. You know, I think a lot of people kind of fall into that trap too, and then they wonder what happened to the friendship. Well, you didn't maintain the friendship because you was too busy busting nuts, which is nothing wrong with busting the nuts, but friendships are work, and that work doesn't go away just because y'all decided to start fucking.
That's real. That's real. Yeah, no. That communication piece is really important.
Yeah, communication, and then couple that with, I said it before, but it bears repeating, honesty. Like, just being honest. Just because I think sometimes I think in a lot of instances, people are not honest with their friends. And that could be because they choose not to be, or because they're not honest with themselves. But I feel like you can easily get caught up in a trap because you're already used to not being completely honest with friends. So when y'all cross lines, things kind of get out of whack. But it could be just anything. Like if you're uncomfortable, you should be able to. That shouldn't even be a question if it's a friend, but you never know. People have intimacy issues and things of that nature. But be honest. Like if you meet somebody, if you start catching feelings, if you want to stop and go fuck somebody else and go back to being friends, like I think it's just important to be honest with how you're feeling. Like communicate no matter what, but also communicate honestly and effectively.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start getting on the tail end of this. So the last question is this. So a lot of times I know online and just in conversation, people say that two people can't have casual sex for an extended period of time because somebody is going to catch feelings. So my first question is, do you agree or disagree with that? And if one of the parties starts to catch feelings, let's say two friends start having sex and one of them catches feelings, how should they handle that in your opinion?
Whew, okay. The progressive part of me wants to disagree with that and say that two people can have sex without catching feelings, but I've not had an experience where that has happened. Because even even in like the last 3 years of me being single, I've had consistent sex with some guys who caught feelings, and I'm just like, you ain't getting it from me. And they'll continue asking to have sex. Like one guy was just like, well, I enjoy sex with you, so even though you don't want to be with me, we can still fuck. And I'm just like, okay. But if I ever have a night where I'm just like, I just want to chill, I don't want to have sex, he's totally fine with just kicking it and just doing nothing. And so I'm just like, that's so interesting to me. And that's because he's garnered up this care for me. And so once again, I haven't had the experience of just having sex with someone. I'm trying to think, is there anyone, I'm trying to think like consistent sex partners. There was one dude who was bipolar. I didn't want to be with him though, so I guess that counts. We fucked regularly, and no one caught feelings. So yeah, it's possible.
Okay.
It's hard to really tell with today's generation. Like everyone's just switching out so quickly that you don't really have a chance to really explore it. In my experience.
Yeah.
But there was also, I'm sorry, that was totally a part two. And what do you do to handle that? Once again, communication.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, communication that is the key. Mm-hmm. That's when you're like, listen, well, and you have to do you have to do the whole fuck boy reminder. Now, when we first started, I told you that I wasn't looking for nothing, but no, you had to go ahead and do it. And now look at you. Now you done caught feelings and you want to blame me.
I mean, that's real. That's real.
Yeah. Listening, both ends. So you have to effectively communicate, but also effectively listen. People tell you, like they tell you who they are. Listen.
Both ends, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of piggybacking off of your answer, I think it's possible, but again, I think a lot of times it fails because people are just not honest with themselves. And it could be a situation where they go into it thinking one way and then things change and they don't have that honest conversation with themselves or with their partner. And that's when shit starts going sideways because you're not telling them you have feelings and you're not having that honest conversation with yourself and say, is this something that I should pursue or do I need to disengage because I done got caught out there?
Are you lying to yourself and saying they're going to change their feelings for you? Because people
Right.
do that too. Like, oh, you're going to like me. But that goes into ego.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, you're going to like me. And
Oh yeah. Like you keep coming back to this hot tamale, so clearly it's something you
right.
want. And it's
And,
like,
and it won't. And that's a, oh my God. That is a lesson I had to learn. With all, like we talked about earlier about compliments sexually and all that stuff, I have been giving compliments on my sex, on my hospitality, on my friendship, and all that. But guess what? If a guy didn't like me, he didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to stop thinking that somehow we're going to have this magical box or whatever that's going to keep someone there. Because if they want to leave, they're going to leave.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to be, like, it just is what it is.
And I think to punctuate your point, we take for granted that men are creatures of ease, and if sex is relatively easy for them to get, then a lot of that other shit goes out the window. So you sitting here thinking you got, the pussy of life, and a nigga could just be fucking with you because it's convenient.
Yeah.
And you don't even
That's
realize
really what it is.
And you get caught out there, but they like, I mean, what's the big deal? Like, I fuck with you because you're on my route home from work. Like, what is you even saying?
Yeah.
And you sitting there thinking it's a whole different scenario.
If all that shit mattered, more younger, virgin, tight people would be in relationships. But niggas don't care about that shit.
Right.
Stop letting them lie to you. It's like you said, it's out of convenience. It's out of conquering. People want to conquer. They want to try different things. They want to do different things.
Yep.
And so thinking that I bring all this to the table. It doesn't matter if the nigga don't want you.
Yep.
It just doesn't.
Because in a lot of instances, niggas, they want to own so that they can discard at their leisure.
Yeah.
Like, it is what it is. But as far as two people having sex and catching feelings and whatnot, whether they're friends or not, I think it just depends on the individuals too. Because some people, especially men, like there's a lot of men, and we talked about this throughout this conversation, but there's a lot of men out there that have no issues and no problems with treating sex like it's just a transaction. Like, this is just something to do, and that's it. And
I can't take it. I thought I could, but I can't. It
depends on my mood.
Well, and the thing about it is, I don't mind a quick fuck, but can we at least have a chemistry? Like, I don't know. Like,
chemistry
let's at
is
least
important.
Be cool. Like, can we at least greet one another? I'm not with the you walk in my door, we go straight to the room, take clothes off, not speak, not say anything, not leave. Like, that's too cold for me. At least, can I get a what's up? Like, can we at least be cool? Like, at least know.
Wait, so you said all that? You coming from my wig?
I mean, that could be yours if that's your
no,
shit.
but
your shit. I
that
can do it.
That transaction is, but there has to be a level of comfort and conversation beforehand. Like, it's not just
right.
Like,
now in the future,
I know people who they're like, okay, 3 messages and dick was in mouth. That's not me. Like, we need to have some conversation. I need to be comfortable with you. We need to have some chemistry. Chemistry is important. Like, I remember, off topic but relevant, I remember this dude hit me up one time a few years ago, and he was like, what's up? Like, let's get it popping. And I'm like, okay, can we have a conversation? Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know your name. I don't know nothing about you.
Face pic, please.
No pictures. And he was like, it doesn't matter. And it said it on his profile, but he reiterated. He was like, it don't matter what you look like. I don't care about none of that. I'm just trying to get a nut. And I'm like, ooh, that's not my ministry. Like, and
it sounds dangerous, honestly. I don't trust those kind of people.
Right. Like, I'm attracted to a lot of different things, but the key in that is I have to be attracted. I'm not saying you got to look a certain way. You just have to be attractive to me. And I'm sorry, a blank profile and you trying to hurry up and get there with no kind of dialogue, that's not attractive to me.
I've had like I said, like I understand transactional when you're pressed for time. I get it. Sometimes you just got to get where you got to get. Absolutely. I've had motherfuckers like, hey, I'm on my way to work. Can I just come through real quick? I'm like, yeah, but we already had something built. And it was fun because we already had something built. But that first time, no, we got to chill for a second. just to make sure that a vibe is there.
Yeah.
But I've also had guys who be like, oh, well, how about, can you just leave your door unlocked and you already be in the bed naked? No, not in my house. You out of your goddamn mind. You think I'm going to leave my motherfucking door open and I'm going to,
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially not here in Houston. Listen, they using Jack to fuck people up. Y'all got to be safe.
Right. I have seen. Yeah,
and I'm not even sure if that guy got caught. But a few other points. I think a lot of times issues come about with catching feelings because people kind of get into the, and I could be off the mark, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I feel like if you kind of have not really done your due diligence with yourself sexually, it's easy to get kind of caught out, especially like if you hooking up with somebody and the shit is good. That's how you get dickmatized, because you haven't really had a lot of experiences, you know what I'm saying? Or you could have a lot of experiences, but you haven't learned what it is that makes you tick. Like imagine the first time you had a nigga that made you discover something that really got your engine revving, and you was like, I didn't even know that about myself. It's real easy to conflate those feelings and be like,
yeah, and you be like, oh my god, you're wonderful.
Right.
Oddly enough, I was listening to Amber Rose's show with Dr. Chris, and one of their callers, she was dating a pastor, and they didn't have sex for like a year, and then they broke up. The very next dude she met, she had sex with him, and she was so turned on that she squirted. So you can imagine,
right?
How she's like, you are like dick savior. Listen, like, what the like?
She done put a car in that nigga in her name for the nigga.
Right, a small business loan, shit.
Yeah. Like, absolutely. Okay, so to wrap it up, what to do? I think you said it. Communicate. Like, if you catch feelings, or if you suspect the other person catching feelings, don't shy away from it. Don't start acting weird. Don't alienate them. Have an honest conversation. Like, the whole point and having these brains and these minds and being able to form words and sentences and have dialogue is to have the dialogue. It makes no sense to be able to do it and then shy away from it. And like you said before, a lot of people fall victim to this, but listen, if you can put your genitals on somebody, you should be able to have a conversation with them about anything, in my opinion.
Agreed. Like, you're sharing each other's body. And I think, and it's weird, we are more afraid to talk to the people that we're doing this with than we are our fucking friends. And it's like, but I'm fucking you. Yeah. Like, I should be able to ask you important questions and know about ins and outs.
Absolutely. Yeah. I absolutely agree. So that wraps up the question. You have any final thoughts on the topic?
My final thoughts is I'm glad I'm in a place currently where I'm not into any of my friends. I've been there before in the past, but right now, like, they all are like family to me, like my actual friends. And so it's like a nice safe zone because I wouldn't want to risk any of the connections that I currently have. So this made me grateful that I'm not in that space right now of lusting after any of them niggas. Okay. But I will see you at brunch on Sunday. Okay.
Right. You know what that is? Growth.
And it's funny because outside of Charles, who I've been friends with the longest, I've not had any sexual activity with none of my friends. It is a nice spot to be in because back in the day, I could go through my circle. Oh yeah, we had that one moment. We had that one moment, and like this is the first time I'm like, oh, clean slate, cool. So growth for
there's something to be said, but at the same time, because I know some people get off on that kind of stuff, like I ain't never fucked none of my friends, and it's like, well, I mean, you're not
a moral high point.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a gold medal. You're not Simone Biles. Like, calm down.
Right.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't have any friends right now that I'm. Let me rephrase. I don't have any local friends that I would do anything like that. Like, my friends are family, and I mean, honestly, shit, it I don't know, I feel like it would mess up the friend. Well, there's one friend that it wouldn't, but we just have that kind of friendship. But outside of that, Yeah, I'm kind of glad that I don't have any, and it's good. But I don't think I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Like if I met a new friend tomorrow and we ended up having sex, I don't know, a couple months into the friendship, I wouldn't feel no kind of way because we grown. But I think it's important to know your friendships and
then
know
also I have the friend zone is a real thing though.
it is.
So with me, like once you're considered a friend, it's hard for me to even lust after you. Like I almost have to keep you at a sexual level anyway. So it's become nearly impossible for me. But I don't want to fuck myself over and then be fucking one of my friends next year. So let me stay quiet.
Right. Be like, you were the one that I never knew. You've been under my nose the whole time. No.
that dick has been there the whole time?
The whole damn time. Be like, so you just been sitting out. You've been sitting on a honey pot this whole time and you ain't been sitting on me. Like, what?
It was like that with my weed man once. We fucked. And I was like, you've had all this dick? Like, what the hell? Yeah, that was experience.
Special delivery indeed.
Yeah, but then things got weird. So then,
of course, because you fucking the weed man. That's like fucking your barber.
See, it was like,
yeah.
So I feel like that get weed every time I want some dick. Like, how does this work?
Yeah. I feel like that would get weird real quick.
Yeah, but like it was an experience though that he started, but whatever.
I mean, customer service.
It literally was just one of them days.
Well, I think that's gonna wrap up the conversation. We definitely have explored lots of depths, and we have gone through a lot of different turns with this conversation. But it was good. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad you came on to the show, and it's always good to collaborate with you. Like I said, you're one of my favorite podcast hosts and just all around dope person. Like I know we don't talk every day or anything like that, but
I'll be liking stuff. You know how it works. You communicate through likes and taps and reposts. That's how we communicate.
Good to know.
Good me, you, and John are the Trinity, the podcast Trinity. That's what we do.
True. One day I'm gonna come up with an idea, and we all gonna get on the mic. One day.
Yes.
One day. But anyway, again, thanks for being on the show again, and tell people where they can find you and your show.
Yes, you can find me at KevinDwayne.com. You can also find my podcast there, but you can subscribe to the Outline Podcast on all major podcast networks. That's Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, SoundCloud. You get the idea. Just Google that shit. You'll find it. And you can follow me at The World of Kevin on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. That's it.
Dope. All right, we're done.
Awesome. It's great.
All right, so that wraps up another episode of Gayside Stories, you guys. Go to GaysideStories.com. That is the hub for more information and all things having to do with this show. Again, thank you so much for listening. Send any feedback to GaysideStories@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, go to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star rating. And if you really love it, leave a 5-star review with your rating. Thank you again for listening. And remember, you can also find me on Ratchet Ramblings with Jeremy and Candace over on the CSPN. We put out a show about every week as well. And as always, you guys, those walls, you heard it earlier in the episode. You got to protect your walls. So do what you need to do. Buy the right lube, get the right rubbers, get you some poppers, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if that's really aiding protection, at least not from what I've seen on my Vidster. Anyway, whatever you need to do to protect your walls, do that, and I will see you guys next week.